pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are joined by our 7 trustees, our superintendent of schools, Dr. Timothy Harney, our assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, Mr. Robert Haas, our intern assistant superintendent for finance and operations, Mr. Luis Frontero, our district legal counsel, Mr. Edward McCarthy, our district clerk, Ms. Suzanne Benetti, and our student rep, Haley Hendershot. As always, there are 2 opportunities for the community to participate during the Board of Ed meeting. The first is just before the board takes up its agenda, and the second follows the disposition of all agenda items. As always, if you would like to speak, we ask that you come to the podium. You must be a resident or employee of the school district. Any other person must be voted in by a majority vote of the board. As always, every Board of Ed meeting is taped and posted thereafter to board docs. And if you'd like to follow the school on Instagram, you can follow us at BBP District. Before we get into our superintendent report, we'll open it up for any community members to bring forth any new or old business to Dr. Harney. Not hearing any. Dr. Harney, how are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Before I begin tonight, one of the things we're going to be doing tonight is recognizing our Teachers of the Month. So Mr. Haas will be doing that in a little bit, but first I'd like to welcome you and congratulate all of you and for all the work that you do for our students. So congratulations to you. Just a couple of quick reminders. Remember, school is closed tomorrow for the Lunar New Year. Thursday, we do have a no homework night as well. A couple other just quick announcements. The middle school, high school report cards should be posted on Monday, so our parents are aware of that. And I'm sure Ms. Hendershot will talk about this, but we have the high school musical, which is next week. And that kicks off, I believe the senior showing is Wednesday night, and then it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are the shows, so we're looking forward to that. Also, we've had a very good response in terms of our UPK, so we will be doing a lottery for that this year as well on the February 10th. So that will be something that will be coming. And then one of the things, we're going to make one change to one of our procedures. After tonight, normally we've had Ms. Benetti make copies of the presentations. Starting our next one around, we'll have a QR code here. People can use their phones, and that's what will be available to people. It is also available, obviously, on the website, on board docs, but from here on in, instead of making all the copies paper-wise, we'll use a QR code, and people can just pull it up on their phone or their device, and we'll go from there. So just so people are aware that after tonight, that's what we're going to start doing with that. That being said, Mr. Frontero and I will be doing some of the budget presentation. We'll give you some updated information on that. But that's it for me, and I'll turn it back to Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. We'll turn it over to our student rep, Ms. Hendershot.
Thank you. So January is all about spreading kindness, and during the week of the 27th, the 3 elementary schools will participate in the Great Kindness Challenge. The challenge is a nationwide movement to spread kindness among the school community and in our everyday lives. This year's theme is Kindness Moves. The students will participate in a fun spirit week and also have other activities planned. The students will receive kindness checklists, and anyone who completes it will receive a kindness certificate. The 3 elementary schools are also excited about this year's first Rock Your Socks Day. On January 31st, students will be rocking their socks, advocating for the rights, inclusion, and well-being of people with physical impairments. At the middle school, our guidance staff is working closely with 8th grade students on their 9th grade course selections. After exploring the high school course catalog and reflecting on the presentations from the Course Expo, students are thoughtfully planning their paths for next year. We would also like to acknowledge and wish the best of luck to our science research students as they compete in their first LEGO League qualifier on February 8th at William Floyd High School. Students are working in teams of 2 to present innovative projects addressing environmental and educational challenges to advance to the Long Island Championship in March. Lastly, we look forward to our upcoming movie night for our 6th graders and whiteout dance for our 7th and 8th graders. Both fun-filled events will take place this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. Finally, BBP High School has completed the January Regents exams, and we are proud of how our students handled the assessments. The High School Musical performance of Chicago will take place from February 6th to February 8th. On Friday, January 31st, We will also be participating in Rock Our Socks Day, and we encourage everyone to wear mismatched socks or colorful socks to show support. Additionally, we will be hosting the Desi Strong event on February 14th to raise awareness and show support for our local community. We appreciate the board's continued support of our school community as we move through an exciting winter season.
Thank you, Ms. Hendershot. But at this time, we'll turn it over to Mr. Haas to celebrate our Teachers of the Month.
So I would invite, thank you, Mr. Miller, I would invite Dr. Harney and Mr. Miller to come up front to present the gifts to the Teachers of the Month as I call them up. So we are going to start with the Teacher of the Month. I guess I'm being too loud. I would pull this down a little bit here. I'm not used to the cafeteria. I'm getting yelled at by the audience. Sorry about that. All right, so we will start with the Teacher of the Month for the month of September. So I would like to call up Lori Katakovsky. Ms. Katakovsky has been described as a person who's consistently advocating for her students. Every single day she worked hard to deliver the most effective instruction to her students in a kind and caring way. Her former students often are heard naming her as their all-time favorite elementary school teacher, and her colleagues have described her as kind, compassionate, supportive, and hardworking and dedicated. So congratulations to our Teacher of the Month for the month of September, Lori Katakovsky. So now I'd like to call up Teacher of the Month for the month of October, Brooke Yannick. Ms. Yannick is a dedicated social worker who supports her students and colleagues every day. As a go-to person for students, her kind and nurturing nature brings comfort and ease to all. Ms. Yannick's calm disposition fosters an environment where students feel safe and secure, allowing them to express themselves. Ms. Yannick's genuine care for everyone in our district, along with her professional and kind demeanor, make her a huge asset to both our building and the district as a whole. The Teacher of the Month for the month of October, Ms. Brooke Yannick. Next, I'd like to call up the Teacher of the Month for the month of November, Ms. Alyssa Malave. Ms. Malave works tirelessly to create enriching, welcoming, and organized learning environment that caters to the students' unique needs, providing engaging activities and real-world experience to enhance their learning. Through constant collaboration with classroom teachers and a command of the K-5 curriculum, Ms. Malave designs lessons to support each student to ensure successful outcomes in the classroom. She embodies the values of dedication, empathy, and tireless service. Her contributions have made a lasting impact on the lives of her colleagues and her students alike. Congratulations to the Teacher of the Month for the month of November, Ms. Alyssa Malave. I don't see our Teacher of the Month, Miss Mary Beth Lyons, for the month of December, so I do want to acknowledge her, and we will congratulate and recognize her at the school. So the Teacher of the Month for the month of December, Miss Mary Beth Lyons. Finally, I'd like to call up the Teacher of the Month for the month of January, Miss Chrissy Ungaro. Ms. Ungaro brightens the high school with her infectious energy and enthusiasm. She's ready with a helpful hand for both students and colleagues alike. You can always count on her for advice or even a good laugh. Students enjoy sharing lunch with her and furthering their connections over books they've read. Ms. Ungaro is deeply committed to her students, holding them at high standards and ensuring they are accurate, they are accountable for their learning. Her dedication to their success is clear in everything she does. She genuinely cares for each of them, making sure they reach their fullest potential. Congratulations to the Teacher of the Month. For January, Ms. Chrissy Angara. Once again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you for everything that you do.
We know as much as you guys would love to stay for the budget presentation, we will definitely understand if you guys want to go home. So thank you guys so much for coming. We appreciate it. And thank you for everything you do for the students here at Bay Board Blue Point.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. But at this time, we'll pass over to Dr. Harney to welcome up our high school principal, Mr. Walcott.
Yes, so over the last couple of months, we've been highlighting each of the schools, and each of our principals have come and given a presentation about something that is going on academically within their schools that they wanted to share, and we wanted to share with our community. Tonight is another one of those. So we have Mr. Walcott here, who's with us here tonight. So we're looking forward to you. With that, I turn it over to Mr. Walcott. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Harney, Superintendent of Schools, Board of Ed members, Board of Ed President, Mr. Miller, and District Cabinet. So for today's presentation, we really want to focus on what we do here at the high school, and it is really boiling down to this idea of college career life readiness, looking at not only where they start, but looking at the goal of where we're going, where the students are finishing. What we try to do tonight is highlight our academic opportunities and academic excellence that we have displayed here, falling into the 6 domains, as you guys can see on the PowerPoint, of what it takes to be college career and life ready. The next 2 slides are points of pride, where we really want to showcase the variety of opportunities that we offer here at BBP High School, as well as how our students have embraced opportunities and achieved them with excellence. As you look at these, you'll notice that there is a myriad of ways that our students are excelling in different areas, and that addresses what we like to consider the 3 A's: arts, athletics, and academics. From perfect scores on College Board National Merit Competitions, to Suffolk County winners in arts, to D1, D2 scholar athletes. I've embedded some videos in here. Really to capture some of those moments where, as we're here, what we try our best to do is not only promote these opportunities of academic excellence, but also share in the celebration of them. To not make them just an episodic part of their journey, but to really make them a part of a staple of where they're going in their future. This next chart, you'll recognize that this is showcasing our students that have been high-performing students in quarter 1, making either high honor roll, or merit honor roll. If you look at the chart and add up the numbers, that comes out to 503 students. That's 503 students of the 582 students that are in our high school. This is a definite point of celebration of what we're doing here at the high school, as well as acknowledging that we are looking to push all of our students to not just be on honor roll, but to see their best or highest potential where they can go as students. I know the skeptics in here will also say, like, well, maybe it's because, we're inflating grades, that, this is an indication of maybe the teacher just marking things or scoring a little bit light. If you look here on our next slide, it highlights how our students are doing in AP classes and in AP curriculum. Our students are excelling well above the state and the national average year after year in our AP curriculum courses. These are rigorous courses designed to be at the college level. Beyond just scoring above the national average, you'll also notice that our students are receiving national recognition of distinction in these areas. And that goes to AP Scholar with Honors, AP Scholar with Distinction, AP Capstone Diplomas, and AP Seminar and Research Certificates. Part of this idea of being college, career, life ready is also seeing where we're preparing students when they leave Bayport Blue Point High School. Statistics and data shows that for a large majority of our students, they are going on to post-secondary careers in, post-secondary education in four-year schools. And just looking at national averages, that usually comes with a lot of debt. What we are doing here is providing a chance for them to get ahead. Going to that next slide, you could see how we've expanded our partnerships with post-secondary partners. This chart is only highlighting Suffolk, but we are also partnered with Malloy. We're also partnered with Malloy and Stony Brook University. You might look at this chart and say, well, the numbers look like they're going down, Mr. Walcott. It's actually an unfair indication because our enrollment has dropped, and those numbers are representing a healthy ratio to the enrollment that we have in the school, with also understanding that we are in the process of expanding our post-secondary course offerings. The nice part about that in the expansion is we're not only expanding the courses that we offer, we're getting more teachers accredited so that there's more opportunities within those classes, within the courses, for students to have those opportunities. We're excited about all this. These are all, again, points of pride, and it is something that we recognize that we want to highlight and get out there more often. So part of doing that is this past year, we hosted our first Career Expo. In having the Career Expo, we had grades 8 through 11 here at the high school. We had each department do a presentation of all the courses that we have to offer. We had guidance counselors in each room where they spoke about what the requirements were and also about the enrichment opportunities that students would have. The biggest highlight, as I stated, was that we worked with the middle school and we were able to bring the 8th graders here for those presentations. The feedback that we've gotten from all grade levels, but specifically the 8th grade in this case has been phenomenal, where I feel we've heard a lot of 8th graders feel so informed by it and excited to take on courses that they will have here at the high school. Somebody told me earlier they love that song for this, and I couldn't agree more, where it is telling our students that we're going to make dreams come true here. Students come in with this idea of understanding of where they want to go, or just, I want to do well. And we try to shape that, where that direction is, shape that, that opportunity, and support it in every way possible. Which is a perfect transition into some of the things that we are trying to promote here at the high school and implementing. It's not only about those high scores on AP exams. It's not only about those college opportunities. We're also saying that there has to be opportunities for career paths that might not be in college, that might be in college, career pathways and opportunities that are just going to build you up in the things that you enjoy and love, and then expand on where that could be opportunities. One of those that we are implementing right now, and you see a very big smile on my face, is our news show. Our news show is something that has been more of a radio show for a number of years, from what I understand. Students will come on and they'll do the announcements every day. This year we've implemented a way for them to video and broadcast that. So on every Friday, our students, complete student run with our advisors, they put together this news show, which not only, it's not about the news show, but it's about the understanding of what it highlights for opportunities. And this is just one example.
Good morning, BBP. Please stand for the pledge. Good morning, BBP. Today is January 17th, 2025, and it's day one. Please you be with the flag.
Link is available to everybody on our website. With that, we also highlighted that we're giving opportunities for leadership. Inside our school building, beyond our school building, in our town, our students are civic members where they have the opportunity to engage in various activities and various leadership opportunities. You can see here the list of opportunities that we have provided. You can see also a list of field trips where we understand that we're going beyond the classroom, beyond the confines of a desk and a chair, and saying that we're giving real life opportunities for students to grow in who they are, real opportunities for them to start to be a part of the school and the leadership in it. Inside this list goes so many different agenda items. We had a school improvement team meeting where there's students on it. That happened today, and students are helping to make decisions on what the policies are, what the rules are, what direction that we're going in. We have a ambassadors group that they are talking about a day where they're really looking at the decorum of how students treat each other. And this is completely student-led. They came to me and said, we want to do something and really work with students on how we speak to each other, how we interact with each other on social media. And we're building for that. Another highlight that we had was that we hosted our first of 2 college fairs this year. This year we had 87 vendors here speaking to our students about different post-secondary opportunities, not just college. We call it a college fair, but we had some trades there. We also had our armed forces there. Opportunities for students to say, no matter what direction I want to go, there's somebody here to talk to me and give me some wisdom, some guidance, and open up that door of opportunity for me. This, I will say, as we go through these slides, whether it be a course expo, a college fair, field trips, all these opportunities come from not only the students being in creating a culture where the students feel that they can achieve all this, but also having a staff that is very supportive of that. I am very appreciative of our staff and how they've been able to embrace these new initiatives. I'm very appreciative of one of our senior leaders at the high school, Mr. Zarcone, and his ability to constantly be innovative and embrace change. Any questions regarding this PowerPoint?
Hi, Thank you so much for your presentation. I don't think I have any questions, just a couple comments. I thank you and the school district for continuing to expand the course offerings, especially at the higher levels where kids can get AP and college credits. I'm seeing now as the parent of a senior really how much money you can save in the future by getting this done in high school. So I appreciate that you brought up college debt in your presentation. And I also wanted to give you kudos as the mother of an 8th grader on the Course Expo, because man, those kids came back fired up, and I think the day needs to move to about a 14-period day to fit in everything they want to do. They're so excited. So thank you for highlighting that. My son has signed up for classes that wouldn't have been on his radar otherwise, really. Oh, and also the college fair. I think it's really important that we have that here because it gives our students, you know, not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to travel around with their family and see different schools in different areas. And this gives them exposure to some what I like to call non-name brand schools, you know, some that they wouldn't know of otherwise. Everybody knows, you know, Notre Dame because they watch the football games on TV. But some of our favorite schools we found because they came to visit Big Blue Point, and my child made a connection. So I thank you for opening those doors.
Thank you.
Any other trustee questions? Mr. Walcott, thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
But at this time, we'll pass it over to Mr. Fronterio for his, and Dr. Harney for their budget presentation number 3.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this kind of in 2 parts today, Mr. Fronterio and I. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the information that recently came out from our governor in terms of the executive budget. One of the things we talk about every year is the 3rd Tuesday of the month. By law, the executive budget is supposed to come out, which it does. It includes a number of items, and then after that, what happens in terms of the process, then the legislators take a look at what was proposed, and then they make what they call their one-house budget, which will be sometime late February, March. So this is just really the beginning, but that's one of the things we wanted to review with you today. And then the second thing is Mr. Fronterio will go through a few of the codes for us. So this is what we're going to do tonight, just an overview of the process and the plan. A lot of this you have seen before, so I'm not necessarily going to go through it. But really our goal, as I said, for tonight, really the agenda is talk about the revenue that comes via through aid, and then obviously start to talk about some of the codes. And we're still very much in the early stage of all this. If I'm in your way, I apologize. So everything we do is based on our strategic plan. As a matter of fact, we are currently meeting with our administrators and kind of doing a mid-year review, and that will be something that we talk about at probably our next board meeting, or if not that, immediately the one after that, to kind of talk about that a little bit. This is where we are tonight. Mr. Fronterio has done 2 of the presentations. This is the 3rd, and here is the outline of the rest as we go. If you remember, really by the April 22nd is the latest day possible when the Board of Education would have to adopt a budget. So the executive budget. So what I wanted to do is, the last time we got together, Mr. Fronterio did a presentation. If you remember, the first couple of slides were about when the information that was within the paper related to the 4%. That was something that we had talked about that said it really didn't give a good picture. Well, I'm going to kind of build upon that. Is what you saw in the paper recently, earlier in the week, or last week I should say, was related to the executive budget. And you're going to see a lot of numbers here. And there are certain numbers I want you to pay attention to as you're doing this. So if you're looking at this, and I don't know if I can do this. I guess not. But if you're looking at the numbers, so the things that you want to talk about is foundation aid, which is up here on the top, is very important, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then what I wanted to talk about is you're going to see a number down here of $480,000 and $600. And then really what you saw in the paper, which is very, very misleading, is you saw this number, $689,031, which talked to a 3.90% increase in terms of aid. That is not the case for Bayport Blue Point, and I wanted to review that a little bit. So these are the numbers you saw in the paper, so I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit so you get a better idea. So as you look at this, it really becomes down to the details when you talk about the devil in the details, right? So here you have, using the above, Bayport Blue Point, our total aid package, as I said, was about 689, a 689 increase with a 3.9. Now, if you heard the governor speak at all or anything that was in the paper, they always talked about, hey, there's a minimum 2%. So people would look at this and go, Bayport Blue Point did fairly well, 3.9. That's almost double of what was said. This is very inaccurate or very misleading, so that's why I want to go through this. Most would read this as that we received more than the minimum. Instead, we received, I'm going to show you, actually probably less than the 2%, so I'm going to show you that. So when you look at foundation aid, so there are two things that you're going to hear myself and Mr. Fronterio talk about over the next couple of weeks. There is truly two avenues of revenue. Okay, for a district. And often we talk about with a budget, revenue versus expenses. Revenue, the money we take in, obviously expenses and what we are spending our money on. The two pieces are, one is foundation aid, and it's the one piece of aid that I would tell you that typically there are no strings attached to, all right? It's not like expense-based aid, it's not miscellaneous aid, it's foundation aid. And that's what they talk about. And if you remember last year at this time, I was up here telling you that the governor put out a budget, and that's when they were talking about removing save harmless or hold harmless. People call it different. So that was something that we were talking about. This year they said we're going to get the minimum of 2%. So if you're looking at that, it says $233,113. So that is what they're saying in the paper and what we're seeing. So when you're looking at this, as I said, the two is the foundation aid, and then the other piece of aid, or revenue, I should say, I'm sorry, is the money that we receive from the taxpayers, the community, all right? So, but this is something that they do not share with you that I think becomes very, very important. And when this was shared with us, we went to an advocacy thing on the weekend. If you're looking at this, so what you're looking at is the inflation rate versus the tax cap, okay? So if you're looking at the red line is basically the inflation rate. So if you're really to focus on the last 4 years here, okay, into this, you're going to look at it. It comes to be about somewhere around, just around between 19 and 20%, the inflation rate over the last 4 years. Because of that, the tax cap is a max of 2%, or if it was less than that, it's that. So if you're just doing that over the last 4 years, the delta between what you're using for the tax cap and the inflation rate is 11.14%. That's a very big gap to continuously try to fill every single year. And this is something that is really not that is shared out there that I think is very important, okay? If you're looking at it in a different way, or even just the last 2 years, and this is just some general information. So last year we were one of those districts that was the Save Harmless, right? And one of the things they kept saying is, hey, you're gonna lose your Save Harmless money, that type of thing. And then we were all, I'll say, happy that everything was flat. They said they restored it, but they didn't give you anything on top of that. So that becomes very important. So last year, 44% of the districts on Long Island did not receive an increase in aid. We were one of those districts. This year, 54% of the districts will receive a 2% increase. That is us. But if you're thinking about the last 2 years now, just the last 2 years, I showed you the last 4, the rate of inflation for the past 2 years is exceeding 7%. If you take the last 2 years, we've received 2%. Because last year we got 0, this year you get 2, so there's a delta of 5%. Again, things that districts have to continuously think about. This information is not in the paper that everyone is seeing in the paper, and that's why I think this becomes very important and part of the message. Then they have another piece of aid called expense-based aid. This does not fluctuate too much because this is something that we know that we are receiving because it's based on money that we spend. So if you remember when we were going through all the transportation years ago, I always talked about is, well, you have to spend the money first to receive the aid. That's what this is talking to. So you receive the money the year prior. These are the areas, whether it be building aid, transportation aid, BOCES aid, public, whatever it may be, those, you're spending that money, and then you get some aid based on your ratio. And remember, every school has a different ratio. So that becomes important, all right? So if you're looking at these, you're gonna see here there's a little bit difference where we're making a little bit more money. The red is indicating that it's a little bit less. All in all, it's about a $21,000 delta in the red, actually, difference from the year before. But that you can kind of predict about, and you say, all right, 21,000 over an 18 million, it's a large amount, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. All right, so that's expense-based aid. Then if you look at the other aid, it's just miscellaneous aids, softwares, textbooks. It's again the same idea. Again, you need to spend that money to receive it, and again, that may be a different aid ratio. Again, you're gonna see some things that fall into red, some of the things that are in the positive, and you'll look at high tax aid, which was put into effect years and years ago, basically had to do with, it was put in by Long Island politicians because of the tax rates that were down here on Long Island. But that has been unchanged for years as well. So if you're looking at this again, you're looking in the end that there's a delta of about 2,800 here or so, again, where it's a little bit in the red. So now, this is the biggest thing that I think was misleading in the paper, okay? So everyone talks about pre-K. Mr. Frontaro and I have said over the years that we do not believe that pre-K money should be included in this formula for the reason it is a grant. It is not money that can be used in the general fund, and that becomes very, very important. If you don't use it, you don't get it, right? So it's based on that. So that's one of the things we've talked about. So UPK funding is a grant, it has zero impact on your general fund. Also, when they're doing the calculation, if you looked at the paper, okay, and even our aid runs, and so we had to make calls about this because we were a little bit confused. It says, if you look over here in the column here, it says $100,000, and that's for the, so you know, that's for the 24-25 school year. So that's this current year. We know that we should be receiving about $580,000, $600, which is what they have in place for the 25-26 year. So in theory, or not theory, in actuality, okay, there is not a delta of $480,000 there. It's really zero. And the reason is because they didn't have all the numbers in the system when they're calculating the formula. That's what this comes down to. So this number here, as I said, really should be zero. That number is added into their delta of that 689 that I was talking about before and that 3.9. So if you're looking at this and you're really just doing all the math, okay, if you're going, okay, all right, so expense-based aid is a negative 21,000, okay? If you look at the miscellaneous, it's a negative 2,000. If you're looking at the pre-K, if you go by the paper, they're saying we had an increase of 480. That's why we put an asterisk here as we were looking at this. It's really zero, because it should be 580, 600, which is what we are set to receive next year. And then the foundation aid, which is again is the aid that you really is the one you're looking for the increase because there's no strings attached to that, which I keep saying, is 233. So now if you do that math, really the difference in aid that we're getting is $208,000, which is really less than the 2%. If 2% was 233, and once you do all the other calculations, you're really under. And this is the stuff that you do not see in the paper, and it becomes part of the conversation that people need to be aware of as you're going forward. So when you're looking at this, so if you're really thinking about it, in the last 2 years, we've had a 5% delta increase in inflation rate. The district has received an additional $208,000. So that's where it makes it very tough when you're doing your budget. So this is just a beginning of a conversation. Now again, the good news, or possibly the good news, is this is the executive budget. So hopefully this is the least of what we would see, and hopefully there'll be more coming. But this will be some of my message as we speak with the local legislators and things that we're talking about to kind of, and every district has their own story, and it's one of the things we often try to create what our story here is in Bayport Blue Point. This is what we'll be focusing on going forward, especially with the legislators. I'm going to stop right here to take any questions on that before Luke just goes through some of the codes so people can say. So I'll take any questions there.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. Any questions from trustees? Ms. Conley?
Just a quick one, Dr. Harney, do we expect the state to correct the current year number for UPK in the next aid run?
Yeah, everything we got. So we spoke to the person in the state ed office, and he says when the runs come out the next time, we should be fine. The good news is, what was interesting, we actually, this is where it became a little bit more confusion, we actually received a payment in December that was already double the $100,000. It was like 240,000 or something like that. So we knew that we would be getting that money. And again, it's applied to the pre-K. And if you remember when we did pre-K last year, we knew we would also be kicking in some money in addition to that 580. So we were all aware of that. So the good news is we were receiving more, but we just want it corrected here. Any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Harney.
Okay, so with this, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Frontier. He's really going to just cruise through some of the codes for you as we're going, just so you have an idea what we're looking at.
Yes, so tonight I want to just touch on, start breaking out the budget in its functional areas and to give you an idea where we're headed in terms of budget development for 25-26. So there's 1,000 series budget codes, 5,000 and 9,000. This is a summary of the current year's budget and the proposed budget as it stands right now, with a 4.72% budget-to-budget increase, and it's divided into 4 sections. General support, which are the 1,000 series codes. Transportation is 5,000. Debt service is 9,000, and instruction is 2,000. And we're going to hold off on discussing anything about instruction till future meetings, next couple of presentations. But for now, I just wanted to, talk about the general support, pupil transportation, and debt service. And the coding that I'm talking about is from the Uniform System of Accounts for School Districts. Every school district in the state has to produce their budget in this manner and use these various functions because they can collect data and they can, basically have an idea about what every school district in the state does or spends and so forth. So that's a summary at the moment. These are the actual functions for general support. General support are basically our central administration, and we're big business in terms of accountants and attorneys and all the things that we need to do to operate. So all of these functions are basically in the budget, and it's important to at least see it once in the process. So the way this is set up is I have a first thing is the budget function, which is the number, the description of what is funded in that function, the adopted budget for 23-24, the audited actual expenditures in 23-24, the adopted budget for 24-25, proposed budget for 25-26, the dollar change between the proposed and the current budget, and the percentage increase, and most importantly, the comments about what's included here. So, for example, we have our school board, and they have the continuing education, they have school boards memberships and things like that, and of course they don't get any pay or any benefits of any kind except the cyclic rewards of being a board member, being a community leader, the great joys of that. But there are things that the board has to do in order to stay current and to be in their leadership positions, and that's what's funded here. You're going to see slight changes in various areas in the budget, up and down, and that's just the way the budget system works. Things change from one year to the next in terms of funding and what things we need to budget for or things we're no longer budgeting for. So it's a constant up and down, but ultimately all of these increases whittle down to one increase of 4.72 at the moment. We have our district clerk. Every school district has to have one and manages all of the minutes and everything for the board. Invaluable position. And we also have district meetings where the district clerk handles all of the budget vote and trustee elections and all that kind of stuff. Again, changes ups and downs. There's one or two that you see might be increasing a little bit more. I'll touch on that in terms of why. 1240 is the chief school business the superintendent's office, essentially, and his staff. 1310 is the business office, and my staff. We have auditing services, treasurer, purchasing, and so forth. And you see slight changes in between them. Business office is up a little higher. I'm just building in a little more money for my replacement, and you want to attract the best and the brightest, so you will make sure we have enough money in the budget to do that. Again, 1420 legal services, and some of these increases are, you know, we're looking for possibly at more expenses we come down the pike. So, and I also wanted to build a few little extra dollars in to build some fund balance perhaps on the expense side, because I'm known to develop budgets that are very tight and very precise, and so we want to build in a little bit more extra cushion if we can. So some of these increases are like that one. Personnel office, of course, we're very complicated. We got to keep everything straight in terms of our employees and the documentation and all the certifications and everything. It's a major process in any school district to have a personnel office. Records management, oh my God, it's going up 209%. Well, actually what that is really straightening out the actual expenditure and what's currently being budgeted. Here it's basically supplies and materials for records management and for shredding services, which are things we have to do. And records have to be maintained in a very specific manner. For example, purchase orders that are canceled, we can destroy them after 6 years, but certain personnel records we have to keep for perpetuity. So there's a lot to that records management process. But again, it's only going up because I'm really aligning it with the current expenditures and past expenditures, and that's pretty much the process. We have our operational plant, and that's our, you know, all of our custodians, our director, our facilities. We have our maintenance of plant, where more of our maintenance people who are electricians and plumbers and so forth, and security. Again, some just standard changes. The maintenance of plant is going up. I'm really aligning that more with actually where we're spending our funds. Central mailing and printing. Here we have all of those kinds of things. The reason that's increasing is that we have to replace a folding machine next year. So we're going to be building in a Pitney Bowes folder and sealer. So things, after 4 or 5 years, you have to replace certain things. So I built that in. Central data processing, also a significant increase, but we actually added 2 staff members to that. But the actual trade-off was we originally had 3 teacher aides, I believe it is, working in that area, and through attrition, they were no longer perhaps on our employ, but through the retirement. And we've added 2 staff members who are trained in technology and are able to help us with all of our data needs, which are getting only more and more complicated and more complex as the years go on, for sure. And then we have insurance. We're going to be paying for California. We're going to be paying for North Carolina. We're going to be paying for all of the kinds of things that have been happening in the U.S. and so forth in terms of these huge settlements and disasters. That's going to work its way into our, essentially our liability insurance. And it's currently, we're expecting increases in flood insurance as well. And then BOCES administrative charge, that's our charge for being part of the Eastern Suffolk BOCES component. So if we did not use any services from BOCES, we'd still have this particular charge. It's their share, our share of their facilities and administrative overhead that is there to help us in case we need it. Obviously we use BOCES. They're a great service, but if we didn't, we'd still have this charge. And then the summary at the bottom for this particular section of the budget. Moving to the 5000 series, which is all transportation, we have our district operated trans, you know, our 6 buses and so forth. We have a new person who's handling that for us, is a school bus driver coordinator. The reason it's dropped down is because her title is different from the person who had previously had the position, so it's a little bit commensurate with her experiences and her current salary. We have our contractual services, which are the lion's share, obviously, of our transportation, and then BOCES services as well. Planning on a CPI increase for transportation, but definitely building a little cushion as well, because it's likely to be higher than, certainly it's not going to be 2%, that's for sure. And then our last section is the 9000 series, employee benefits, debt service, and interfund transfers. In terms of employee benefits, we have our ERS, Teachers Retirement System, Employees Retirement System, health insurance, workers' compensation insurance, life insurance, unemployment insurance, you name it, we have it here. And of course, the increase is one I'm anticipating for at least half of that fiscal year of 25-26, where I have to estimate what the health insurance rates will be. So I built that in at the moment, and we'll see where it goes, but certainly I have to plan on something with respect to that. Debt service is right off of our schedules. So I just post the schedules about what's going to happen. It happens to be that it's going down a little bit, and that's including about $450,000 for tax anticipation note interest. So we have that in there, as well as the straight debt service, which are our various bonds that we have to pay out every year until they are actually completely amortized. And then interfund transfers, we have a $500,000 transfer to capital, which we've been maintaining at least for the past couple of budget year cycles, and $100,000 for special ed summer support. We get supposedly 80% back from the state on that expense. And basically, that's all of the function codes that I would cover tonight. This is a quick summary of where our budget has been ups and downs each year in terms of budget to budget and tax levy. This is the average over 15 years. It's pretty good. I mean, it's really pretty straightforward in terms of all over that time, how much our budget has increased and pretty much our tax levy. So I think it speaks volumes about our ability to manage our financial position. As I mentioned on the January 14th meeting, where I had a calculation for the tax levy, and the tax levy cap was still at 3.45. It's subject to revision as we get more information, and I'm able to make other estimates about where we might want to land. And this is the current configuration of our revenue. As you can see, as Dr. Harney presented tonight too, we have our tax levy, of course, is our largest source of revenue. State aid, which we had plugged a number for 24-25, and our all other revenues, appropriated fund balance and transfer reserves. Ultimately, whatever we decide our expenditures are going to be for 25-26, we have to have exactly that budget, that number on our revenue side. We have to be in balance before we can actually bring a budget to vote. So hopefully we get that. We see that there might be maybe more state aid than we currently have. Our tax cap right now with 3.45 would give us $2 million, a little over $2 million in increase, new money. That would cover about 400 of that, half of the $4 million increase. Another $200,000 or $300,000 from state aid would also help cut that down and bring it down to about $1.5 million that we'd have to cover through appropriated fund balance reserves and other revenues, if you will. And that's at the current position. And for February 11th, I promise I'll start reviewing the 2000 series budget codes, which are, again, all instruction, and obviously, you know, what we're all about in terms of the school district. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Frontario. Any questions from trustees? Any questions from anyone here tonight?
Hey.
No, Mr. Johnson?
So the budget, the expenditures we went over tonight, those are starting points, correct?
The current summary of the 4.72?
Next year? Those are still being worked? Like
Yeah, oh yeah, we're not done yet.
That's the ceiling at this point. We can only come down from there?
I guess we'd have to see, you know, depending upon what other things might transpire between now and the time that we actually do the budget. 5%. You know. I'm sorry?
So I guess what you put up in the year as a potential budget, the budget looks about 5%, 4.7, right?
Yeah, the one I'm showing is currently is 4.7. I mean, it started at 6.5 because I was just plugging numbers and having fun, adding fund balance and all kinds of things. And then I said, well, this is not reality. I have to, you know, ratchet it back. So I brought it back down to about 4.72, which is, you know, really where it is in terms of, I made some generous estimates, but I'm not, you know, over the top. This is really what it's going to cost us in many respects.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from anyone here? Mr. Frontario, thank you so much. Dr. Harney, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items the board would like to remove from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? Not hearing any, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items H through K? Ms. Conley, second by Ms. Pignataro. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. We do have 7 regular agenda items. Can I have a motion to gratefully accept the cash donation and approve the budget amendment to increase the 2024 budget for $22.30 for the box tops for education for the Sylvan Avenue Elementary School? Ms. Conley, second by Ms. Pignataro. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to review the first reading of policies 4326, limited English proficiency instruction, 4750, promotion and retention of students, and 5100, attendance zones? Ms. Conley, second by Ms. Pignataro. Any discussion? These are just minor updates to reflect the current practice, so everyone's aware. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for the board to require repeal of any policies to be completed within 2 readings? And this would be policy 1120E.2, school district records, agency response to requests for records. This is because we're repealing it for a lack of use. Ms. Conley, second by Ms. Pignataro. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We do have 2 more. Can I have a motion to abolish policy 1120E.2, school district records, agency response to requests for records? Ms. Conley, second by Ms. Pignataro. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have a motion to approve Evelyn Valerio, Donna Cochran for the Chief Inspector of the Elections at the library. Mr. Johnson, seconded by Ms. Conley. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Open it up to the community for any new business. All eyes on you.
Nope, good.
Any trustee new business? Ms. Conley.
Just because we didn't mention a time before, the performance of Chicago for Senior Citizens is next Wednesday at 5:30. It's free in the Big Blue Point High School auditorium, and best of luck to cast, crew, and pit orchestra on great performances. And Haley, down at the end, rest your voice, break your favorite appendage.
Any other trustee updates? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Krug, knew it. Second? Ms. Pignataro, all in favor? Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you on February 11th.